Hello, my name is Zim, and thank you for joining me today on the channel for episode 2 of Chainsaw Man. Now, I'm usually not one for long intros. Yes, the intro for the first episode was quite long, and I think that was kind of necessary because I was expecting a lot of new people to the channel, and it was really quite nice. I was really happy to see the positive response in the comments from a lot of newcomers. It was exciting. I'm not gonna lie, it's really quite exciting to start this new anime. So thank you. Thank you for joining me, and I'm so happy to hear that a lot of you really enjoyed my approach to content, to anime content, and made the choice to sub and stick around to see more of it. And I'm more than happy to continue. And of course, a big thank you to all the returning subs. It's always nice to see familiar faces. I saw a lot of them, a lot of familiar usernames in the comment section. It was a fun comment section to go through. Now, I should specify and, let you know that indeed I have a mod, and it's the same mod from Shingeki, Sefazin. Many of you know Sefazin, he's the homie. He keeps it airtight, man. He knows my approach. And he knows the type of comments I consider spoilers. And a lot of times people do think they are being sneaky and cheeky by dropping a hint that they think is not something that could be misconstrued as a hint or could be actually picked up as a hint. But trust me, there's a lot of people that are out here that can easily pick up on those hints. I'm not saying I'm the only one, but even a tiny little hint or a nudge, sometimes it lingers in your mind. And then, at the right moment or the wrong moment, in that case, it kind of comes to the forefront. And you remember, you're like, that's the thing they were kind of alluding to. And then you put two and two together and it's spoiled, right? Your mind just kind of puts it all together. And I believe it's important to go through the comment sections. Otherwise, there's this disconnect. I love dipping into the comments and kind of taking a stroll through the comments. I think it's an important part of being a content creator, that feedback and knowing how things are kind of being perceived and just kind of, gauge the interest and just the opinions of the people that do watch your content. So before I get into the episode itself, just another reminder that if you're interested in full opacity, there's going to be no mask on the footage or perhaps even full length, timer-based full length. Consider checking out the Patreon page. A lot of great support on Patreon as well. So thank you for that and welcome. But yeah, if you're interested, check out the links in the description, in the pinned comment. Also, there's links to social media if that's your thing. But yeah, that's about it for the intro. Let's get into the episode. I hope you enjoy. Whoa. Oh. Those eyes though, man. Woo.
返事ははいかワンだけ。いいえなんていう犬はいらない。使えないうちの犬は安楽死させられるんだって。
Wow, great shot though. Love that. Jeez, yeah.
ちょっと好きになったのに、こんな怖い女だったなんて。
あと半裸じゃ目立つからこれ着な。
Yeah.
はい。
It's gonna be all nice and warm. It's gonna smell nice.
汚ねえくせえと言われ、近寄られもしなかったこの俺が初めて優しくされた。それもいい面の女に。
Yeah, a girl that looks like this. Careful now, Denji. Oh, I'm already so protective of Denji, right?
あ、カレーうどんもいいっす。
Have all of it. Oh.
デンジ君。
いい匂い。
Yeah. As they
デンジ
do.
君。
すみません。チェーンソーで自分の体も切れちゃって。
君の状態は歴史的に見ても前例がとても少ないよ。名前もまだついてないくらいにね。
Great shot.
その話信じるよ。私は特別に鼻が
Do you
ん
know?
だ。だからわかる。
Yeah.
君の親友は君の中で生きてる。ロマン的な意味じゃなく、体から人と悪魔二つの匂いがするもん。
そっか。
Interesting.
うどん食っていいっすか？
一人で食べれる？
食べれません。
はい。
Oh man. No one's ever this nice, right? No
こん
one.
な伸びてるうどんを美味しいだなんて、君はけなげだね。
I mean,
本
that's
当に犬みたい。
あなたのお名前
Go on then. Give us a name.
マキマ。
マキ
Makima.
マさん好きな男のタイプとかあります？
デンジ君みたいな人。
デンジ君
She's good. She's good.
俺じゃん。
Yes, that's you, bro. He's still kind of loopy and out
好
of
き
it.
な男のタイプとかあります？
She put him in a
デンジ君
daze.
みたいな人。デンジ君、こっちこっち。
She's doing a number on him.
ここがデビルハンター東京本部だよ。
Of course, Tokyo.
そういう関係になったらそういう行為もできるんじゃ。してそういう行為して
Of course you do.
着替えたら君の同僚に合わせるから。
Yes. There he is.
彼の名前は早川明。
Aki.
デンジ君より3年先輩。君の働きぶりが良ければ一緒に仕事できるよ。だから頑張ってね。
Ooh. Let's go. Test him out a bit.
お前仕事やめろ。
Shh.
明日も来たらまたボコるからな。生きてるやつはみんな根っこに信念があるやつだけだ。お前さ、マキマさん目当てでデビルハンターなったろ。ピンポーン。じゃあ殴って正解だったな。
Oh. He's a little bit similar to Megumi, right? Oh.
俺は
Oh.
男と喧嘩するだけ。股間
It's nuts or nothing. Jeez.
初めて人並みの扱いされたし、初めて飯食わせてもらった。俺にとっちゃ夢みてえなさ。
Yeah, exactly, right.
この生活続けるためだったら死んでもいいぜ。
Yeah.
ああ、だよ。てめえもマキマさんが好きな
Look at
だ
that
けじゃね
stance.
え
Again. Bro, you're gonna crush his balls.
先輩が金玉の悪魔に玉を襲われまし
Not
た。
devil.
嘘です。
でどう？仲良くできそう？
It's so empty in here. Look at this.
こいつクズですよ。
他じゃ見ないような実験的な体制で動かしてみる。
Special unit, eh?
デンジ君
わあ
は人間だけど悪魔になることができるんだ。デンジ君は特別なの。
It's one of my favorite shots right here.
だから特別な対応で扱うことになりました。公安を辞職したり違反行動があった場合、デンジ君は悪魔として処分されます。
どういうこと？
死ぬまで一緒に働こうってこと。
お前を見張るため一緒に
Haha, yes, I love that.
どっかに逃げたら殺していいって言われてるからな。
Wow.
マキマさんって悪い人なの？お前が悪魔なら殺されないだけ感謝しろよ。じゃあいい人なのか？いい人に決まってる。
Early days still.
命の恩人だ。もう一回抱きてえな。いちごジャム。
Oh, yes. Let's go,
オレンジ
man.
ジャムに。
I love this for him right
あ
now.
うん。
Wow, how good does that look?
わおわおわおわおわおわおわお。
Hey, look at that. The hair's down. Now he's really looking like Megumi. Wow.
人の死体を乗っ取った悪魔。それが魔人だ。
Here's your lesson. Yes! It's that music!
魔人の人格は悪魔だ。今回はお前が殺せ。
デビルハンターどもが
俺もこいつみてえな魔人になってたかもしれねえからな。それでなんか楽に殺してやりたくて。
Interesting.
デビルハンターが悪魔に同情するな。俺の家族は全員目の前で悪魔に殺された。奥さんとか子供を守るために命がけで仕事をしてる。お前以外全員本気なんだよ。お前は悪魔と仲良しにでもなりたいのか？友達になれる悪魔がいたらなりてえよ。
俺友達いねえもん。
Yes, you do. He's your friend.
その言葉
Oh,
覚えとくぜ。
I love the dust. The specks of dust. I forgot to mention in episode 1.
本当はエロ本に血つけたくなかっただけなの。
Ah,
チェーンソーになると血飛び散って汚れちまうからな。
oh, Denji.
よし。確認。風呂も毎日入れて、いいもん食えて、面のいい女も近くにいて、もう100点の生活なのに、なんか足りない気がする。
But there's always a catch, my friend.
マキマさんもなんかあんのか？マキマさんも。
Yep.
胸。
Ah. Listen, man. He doesn't have much of a filter, but
とっくの昔に俺には無理だと諦めてたけど、今のまともな仕事してる俺なら揉めるんじゃね
maybe
えか。
you can.
胸なら強い意志と行動力がある揉めるんじゃ。
お前以外全員本気なんだよ。
そういうことだったのか。見つけたぜ。俺の本気。胸だ。
胸だ。
おい話聞けバカ。
話
公安では小規模任務とかパトロールは安全な
Oh!
二人一組で行動することにな
Great
る。
shot from the trailer.
気をつけてね。彼女は魔人だから。おうおう、ひげ人間、わしの名はパワー。バーディーとやらはうぬか。
名前パワー？
Nice shot.
つうか魔人なの？魔人がデビルハンターなんてやってもいいのか？
She also has boobs.
まあいいか。よろしくな。
結果が出せなかったらすぐにでも上の方々が解体しちゃうかもしれない。そうなったら君たちがどうなるかはわかるよね。
This is so much fun, isn't it? Huh. Great shot.
人間、早くなんか殺させろ。わしは血に飢えてるぞ。
ある程度の理不尽なら辛いよけりゃ許せる。
Ah!
問題はどうやって胸を揉むかだ。公安大麻得意音歌でーす。
って言って手帳を見せれば嫌な顔して帰っていくよ。
全然悪魔いねえじゃん。
わしのせいじゃん。わしは魔人になる前は超恐れられてた悪魔じゃったからの。わしの匂いで雑魚悪魔は逃げてくんじゃろ。
パワーと組ませて俺を活躍させないようにして俺をやめさせる気なんだ。
血の匂いじゃ。
おいおい、てめえどこ行け。
From the trailer as well. Oh. This looks so good. Whoa.
わかります？
Yes, it is. Wow, that's the shot, isn't it? All right, episode 2 of Chainsaw Man. First of all, that ending, really quite delightful. Really enjoyed that. The track and the animation, the art style utilized in that ending. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And like I mentioned, I would love to check out more anime that is kind of similar to that art style, right? I believe, like I mentioned, Ping Pong, the animation, I think is meant to be that type of art style. Is Space Dandy that art style? It's on my watch list, but I'm not 100% sure if that's the art style. I don't know. For some reason, I'm thinking it might be that art style. Actually, there was a new anime last year as well, that had that type of art style. I think. It did. It's 3 girls, and I believe they're in high school, and like they're part of this club. I think, aspiring filmmakers, I believe, or aspiring artists, or I think it's a mix of a few different things. It's an anime I really wanted to check out. I just kind of forgot about it. I have it in my notes on my phone. I think it had that type of art style. But yeah, I'll have to go look it up again. I'm sure many of you know exactly the anime I'm speaking of, and you'll let me know in the comments. It was brought to my attention that all 12 of these endings are going to be quite unique. That they're all going to be different for each episode. So that's really cool. I like that. I like that approach. And of course, this ending right here, fantastic. Really quite enjoyable. I love the art style. And I kind of love the almost slice of life nature of its presentation. I love that moment as Denji is kind of in a free fall, right? Kind of depicting that he's lost in this city, he's lost in this life of his, right? Again, the animation is just top notch. But I love how Aki and Power kind of come to his rescue, right? Stop him from that free fall and give him that support. At least that's my understanding of it, or that's how I'm reading this. But yeah, that's a great ending right there. But as I am on the topic of the production or the production side of things, yes, it continues to excel. And it is one of the standout elements, or continues to be one of the standout elements of this anime here in episode 2. Once again, the animation, the art style, the art direction, and the presentation, everything about this is really quite impressive. Around the time the second trailer dropped, my initial reaction, or I tweeted it out, to me, it felt like this high-end anime film production, something that's meant to come out in theaters, right? That's my first impression from that trailer number 2. And, I was really hoping, this is the standard that kind of actually gets delivered in the anime. And yeah, I'm seeing it on display 2 episodes in, and I'm really quite happy about that. And it was brought to my attention that the team that was essentially assembled for this anime, everyone that's kind of a part of the production side of things, it's a bit of an all-star team, or at least it's a collection of really impressive individuals. They have quite the resume, many of them. So yeah, you see the results. The movement in this anime, it's just so fluid, right? Even really basic movement, right? Basic actions, even those really feel like a lot of detail has gone into it. And in that sense, of course, a lot of great attention to detail. Noticeable. It's quite noticeable in this episode. There's just so much going on that you can kind of pick up and extract. Some great use of subtext as well, right? The character of Aki, yes, I love his subtle reactions, subtle head movements, movements of the eye. There's that moment his eye twitches, and a bit of that is also present for Makima as well. The subtle movements or the subtle twitch of the eyes. The one that really stood out is the one of her in the office as she sees Aki drag Denji out, right? And she already kind of knew, but there she saw for sure. Oh, okay. And this is the scene she essentially claims Denji, right? There's that tie. It's a tight shot of her tying it up for him, but essentially she's claiming him, right? Kind of like putting a leash on her dog. As I'm on the topic of that scene, that the painting or the art in the background, yeah, it felt familiar. I'm not saying that exact painting, but similar type of art. Demons and devils. It's deliberately placed inside Makima's office. And yeah, it's deliberately placed and framed so the audience picks up on it as well, right? So I'm sure if I was to kind of look it up, though I'm not sure if I should, but if I was to look it up, I'm sure, I could probably gain some insight on Makima, right? It's one of those things, you see it every now and then in shows. The placement of actual art that has a lot of meaning and symbolism. But, I feel like the art or the painting is even more noticeable or important because of that office, right? Because of the rest of it being just empty. It's hollow, much like Makima herself, perhaps. That right there is a compelling character. That's a fascinating character. All of those things intriguing for sure. But I think it's safe to assume that there is something strange and off about Makima. But going back to my initial point about Aki and the subtle animation, be it the twitch of the eye, subtle change in expression in response to something Denji might have said, and the 2 standout moments being, no, I didn't go to school, and you see, Aki once again has a reaction to it, right? And then later upstairs, that sad moment, as he tells him, yeah, if I could find someone like that, a fiend or a devil that I could befriend, yeah, I would do it because I don't have any friends. Again, there's that twitch of the eye. So I think it's really effective for a character like Aki, right? Yes, hard exterior, but clearly a gentle heart, perhaps a big heart. And indeed, he does get him a friend, doesn't he? Right? He matches him up with power. Now, of course, Denji thinks it's for different reasons, but, I think that was Aki essentially giving him a friend. But that pair, Denji and Power, that's going to be so much fun. So much fun. You could just tell there's so much potential there. And there's a lot of fun moments already here in episode 2. Them on patrol. Them on patrol is just such a fun scene. I love that moment. She just randomly, kind of gets frustrated, right? Give me something to kill, present something to kill. And there's an interesting moment as they pass by a cat, Denji doesn't make much of it, he just gets a cat and he just keeps going. But, Pyro notices the cat, kind of looks at the cat. There's even a frame that really draws your attention to that. So is there something interesting going on there as well? I mean, that feels like an understatement. There's a lot of interesting things going on with Power. Wow. I mean, that's a backstory that I'm really looking forward to. And Aki as well. I mean, all of them. Makima as well. As you know, or as many of you know, I love a good backstory. I love a good flashback, right? It really does add a lot of depth and kind of helps in recontextualizing a lot of things. But I actually do get a bit of fascinating insight on Power in that rooftop scene. She tells Denji that, before she was a fiend, before she took over the dead body of a girl, and I'm sure there's an interesting backstory there. She told him that, she used to be this demon, a devil that was feared by all. So because of that, any devils that might be in the immediate area are going to flee the moment they catch her scent, right? So I thought that was fascinating, especially because scent is also mentioned earlier in the episode by Makima, right? This is around the time she tells Denji, actually, your friend is still alive inside of you, right? And she tells him that she believes him. And then she also tells him, I have a particularly good sense of smell as well, right? So again, scent being brought up twice in the same episode by two really unique characters. I just remembered, I was speaking of the production earlier. The voice acting, yes, Power. I think the voice actor for Power, or actress for Power, just kind of steals the show right at the end there. That was phenomenal voice acting, right? This, this killing frenzy that she kind of gets caught up in, that takes over essentially. Once she kind of kills that thing, the devil, the cucumber devil, was it? And that laugh, right? Again, that bloodlust. It was really reminiscent of the Chainsaw Man, Denji, at the conclusion of episode 1, right? Really similar. And of course, the animation of her running across the rooftops towards the target, right? As she summons this blood hammer, right? And again, there's a tight shot of it coming from the wrist. So that in itself is also really quite deliberate, isn't it? That choice, the tight shot. So let's see if there is a specific reason for that. Her drawing blood from that exact spot. It is quite a definitive spot, isn't it? To be drawing blood from. So let's put a pin in that and keep that in mind. And then of course there's Makima. I think the voice acting really plays a big part for that character as well, right? That soothing nature, right? The voice itself is really quite soothing, really quite attractive, really calming. The cadence of her voice remains the same at all times, right? Even if she is saying something that feels a bit strange, it's something that makes you kind of take a double take or do a double take, sorry. And then of course there's Aki and that voice. I think that's a perfect match as well. It really matches that character, who is a really, really cool character, right? Really cool. And you need that type of character in that ensemble cast, right? You have Power, you have Denji, and then you have Aki, right? Again, I mentioned it reminds me of Megumi. It does. But yeah, great voice acting there as well. But I feel like Aki does have a bit of a shift in demeanor, right? Because I think he is beginning to understand that, this guy, that he must have thought is this uncultured donkey in the way he behaves, right, inside the apartment. He just needs human connection, right? He needs human connection, that he's been deprived of it, right? Again, I mentioned those subtle reactions, the twitch of the eye. He knows he didn't go to school. He knows that he doesn't have any friends. And then, of course, looking at some of his behavior, that does kind of resemble the behavior of someone that might be a child, a young child, rather than a young adult. That is Denji. I think he is beginning to put together that, okay, maybe he just needs a bit of human connection. And I do hope, that Aki kind of goes on to become this big brother type figure for Denji, right? Yes, like I mentioned earlier, hard exterior, but perhaps a gentle heart, a big heart. For Aki, yes, he's going to continue dishing out some of that tough love, but I do feel like perhaps he can grow into becoming that, big brother figure that does kind of look out for him, that is going to be there for him. In those moments as well. People are profoundly shaped by their social environments, right? And if that social bond is severed at an early age, during childhood, then that can lead to some long-term issues, right? Health and educational issues, as depicted through Denji, right? And as noticed by Aki as well throughout this episode. So yeah, he's a bit rough around the edges. He is a bit raw. He's a bit rusty, right? And in that sense, he doesn't have the training or, again, the emotional maturity that, again, he was deprived of his whole life. He's not even able to kind of verbalize or kind of interpret his own needs, right? His unconscious desire as the protagonist, right? It's there, he realizes, he feels it, that there is something missing, but he's not really able to kind of understand it. But us as the audience can pick up on that, right? Us, the audience, knows that it's essentially his need for human connection, to belong to society, to be a part of something larger, right? To be treated as a decent human being. And he has, he's received that treatment, right? And it just happens to be that this individual is essentially taking advantage of him, right? I mentioned in my episode 1 discussion, the potential to be manipulated is still there, just by a different party. You're seeing it on display. You see that Makima, she can just read him like a book. She knows that he's infatuated, and she's using that, right? She's using it. She's enticing him. She's giving him a reason to stay in line. So yeah, he is being manipulated by another party at this point. And of course, that is the person who happens to be the first person who ever treated him with respect and dignity, right? For the most part, other than the whole, you're going to be obedient, and, you're essentially my dog. But yeah, he tells Aki as much, for the first time in my life, I was treated as a decent human being, right? And she also happens to be this really attractive individual that he is really attracted to. And she's picked up on it, right? And she's using that for sure. And that sense of belongingness or closeness comes from supportive relationships, right? And that's the thing Denji needs here. Ultimately, I think it all kind of boils down to him, wanting to touch her boobs or boobs in general, right? But again, subtext, there's a lot there to take from this, right? Yes, you could also look at it as a really funny thing. It is funny, him kind of wanting to touch boobs, and it's really quite realistic as well, right? That is something else he's been deprived of, that loving physical touch even, right? So yes, there is a comedic element to that, and it's really quite, fun to see that as well. But I think there's more to it than that, right? It's not as simple as just this protagonist who just wants to touch boobs, right? So that, for that reason, again, I am once again really, attached to Denji and his growth. But, for Denji, it's a case of kind of packaging all of that into something as simple as, I just want to touch some boobs. I just want to touch her boobs, right? Understandable, my dude. It's understandable. Boobs are great. But, there's certainly more than that to it. And in terms of that character arc or the character growth for Denji, these first circle characters to our focal character, Denji, these are the ones, the characters like Aki and Power and even Makima, right? These are the characters that are going to essentially, help or hinder, focus or defocus, service or support the protagonist, that is Denji. And I'm sure I'll get to meet some of the second and third circle characters as well, right? And I think I see a few of them in the movie theater in the opening as well. So I'm excited about that, to meet those characters as well. Though, I'm not sure at this point. Maybe some of them could be first circle characters for Denji. But yeah, it was so great to see him kind of enjoy some of those simple pleasures, some of those simple things in life that he could only dream of, right? Yes, like I mentioned to Aki, it's really quite jarring to see this young adult, someone that's, I suppose he's kind of similar in age. I guess that's my next question, right? The age. They all kind of seem like the same age. Maybe Aki's a little bit older than Denji. I can't quite tell how old Makima is. Again, she kind of feels like the same age group. But yeah, it was a great moment, the slice of life moment. I love that they're kind of living together. Yes, the reason for that is so you can keep an eye out on them. But I love that they're roommates, that they're together. It's going to provide a lot of fun moments. But yeah, it was really interesting to see these new characters, get some insight on them. And I'm really excited to see more, right, through backstories and flashbacks, because everyone has their own struggle, right? Everyone has a past, be it Aki, Power, Makima even. So there's a lot of potential there. And you can see that for a few of them, there's even like a public self and a hidden self, right? Kind of hidden behind a facade of character traits that are presented in public. And finally, to sign off, I do want to mention the score. Top notch. It's fantastic. It's so engaging. It's really giving this anime its identity, or it's helping kind of build that identity for this anime. And the score, the composer can be so important for that reason, because they can provide that identity. I'm thinking of Sawano, I'm thinking of Yamamoto even, who came recently, but he's already kind of made his mark on Shingeki as well. I'm thinking of Ramen Javadi. Many of I like to mention these names a lot. They are so integral to the identity. And I feel like the composer for this anime is doing the same thing. He is giving it that unique identity already. And there's so many tracks that I'm already excited to kind of, listen to over and over once the whole soundtrack drops. It's exciting stuff. It's exciting stuff. And, in that sense, I'm kind of lucky because essentially all the anime I've watched, it's had a lot of amazing music in it, right? I think of Death Note, Full Metal Alchemist, Shingeki, Villain Saga. But yeah, I'm really quite excited to get to more of this composer's work in anime. And it was brought to my attention that indeed a lot of the anime on my watch list does have this composer as well. So yeah, that's exciting. That's exciting. But yeah, I think that's about it for this one, folks. If you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you're interested in full length or full opacity, consider checking out the Patreon page. The link is in the description and the pinned comment. Also links to my social media, Twitter, Instagram, if that's your thing. Right then, thank you for joining me and thank you for your time, as time is precious. And I do hope to see you again soon for the next one. Until then, take it easy.